Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be transforming this dresser into something I've never done before. While scrolling through for inspiration, I came across this expensive dresser that I saw on the website called All Modern, and I figured that one is going to be the one. So don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below what your thoughts are, and let's get into it. First and foremost, wiping down my pieces before sanding. So I go in with simple green and some white rags you can purchase at any of your hardware stores. And then after, go in with a damp cloth just to remove any of the excess. Once the cleaning is done, I start to then remove the hardware and label my drawers. I label them because sometimes putting it in the wrong spot can actually make a big difference. So labeling them will make it easier towards the end to put it back in its original spot. Once I'm done with that, then I start to clean the insides. You'll be surprised what you find inside these drawers. In this case, I didn't find anything but socks, which is better than things I found before. Next, I go in with a paint scraper to remove the top layer of the veneer. I don't have any paint stripper. It would have been a lot easier, but in this case, I just went in with a scraper. After that, I sanded with a 80 grit, and from there switched it to a 220 just to give it a fine finish on top without going through the veneer. As I was sanding this top part of the dresser, I realized I didn't really necessarily have to sand completely down to its original color since we are going to be coating it with a dark black paint. Once I then thought about it, I started to scuff sand instead because, I mean, why bring it down to its original color if we're going to color it black? So that's what I did with the rest of the drawers just to make it easier for myself. Here I'm cutting off the bottom of the legs. I don't really like the form of it, so I'm going to try to make it a little bit more modern, leaving about 3 to 4 inches on the bottom part, using my power tools to cut it off and make it a little bit more squared. So I found these syringes off of Amazon. I don't know why I haven't used them before, but these syringes make it easier for you to be able to put glue inside little openings in your furniture. You're able to just slip the syringe right in, put in your glue, and give it a good clamp. Here I'm using a 2-part wood filler, kind of like Bondo. If you don't know what Bondo is, it's 2 parts where you have a clay portion and you have a hardener. You mix those two together and it creates this sort of putty that hardens within about 15 minutes. You want to make sure you put a good enough amount on there to allow you room to sand it down. It does get hard just as wood, so be very generous with it. Sweet. Now that that's done, these are also dried as well. I just have to go in here with a little sander, even them out. I am gonna sand with an 80 grit because I don't have any other ones anymore. I just ran out of my 220 ones. All I have is 80, 60, and I think that's it. So I'm just going to use 60. I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on there because I don't want to go through the veneer on here. The smaller the number, the more coarse it is, the more you'll most likely cut through the material. When I did scrape earlier, I did cut through the veneer, so I'll have to go back in and put wood filler to smoothen that area, because when it comes time for painting, you will see the indentions of that scrape. So we want to avoid that as much as we can. Again, everybody makes mistakes, so it'll happen. So I'm just going to use the 80 grit. I'm not going to put a lot of pressure, but I am going to put enough to where I can actually even out the wood filler. See what I mean by when you press down too much, you can get into the particle board. Luckily, it doesn't feel like that yet, so I barely just went right over it, but that you want to be careful of whenever you are sanding veneer, because you'll go into it. So note to self, do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you have extra grits, different types of grits for your sanding, because it does come in handy. Next, I went in with some Kilz Original. I technically didn't have to prime this piece because we're going to be coloring it dark. Usually when you prime, when you're using more of lighter colors to prevent any bleed through on your pieces, but I did it anyway, so. Day 2, I'm measuring how long I need my little trim pieces. So I'm going to head down to Lowe's, pick up the 3/8 by 11/16 trim round molding, cut them into place, and line them up on the drawers. I shouldn't have marked it with a nail, but I did. I did have to call in some reinforcements to help me make lines so I know where I'm cutting. My good friend Abigail, who also has her own business in making t-shirts. I love her. She's my sister in Christ, and she is very creative with her art and her t-shirts. She's been making our shirts for me and my family for a few years now. I'll leave her link down below so you can check out her page on Facebook. She's super sweet and her quality is amazing. Finally, after what I thought would never be ending, we've finished cutting all of our pieces. So after looking at the inspiration, I noticed that there was gaps in between the pieces of wood. So instead of doing the markings how I did earlier, I ended up just putting all of them on the board and then going one by one, every other one, gluing it down and then taking it off. Once all the pieces were in place and glued, we gave it some time to dry. We started prepping for day 4, which was the painting portion of it. This was my favorite part. I'm still getting used to the HVL spray gun that I had purchased. If you haven't seen my video before, go check it out. It's just an unboxing of the spray gun and me using one for the first time. I had so much fun with this piece. I did go over it about 2 to 3 times just to make sure that the paint adhered to the corners and the edges of the little wood pieces. So that was pretty fun. I did have to water the paint down a little bit because it was pretty thick. However, I put a little too much water in it. Make sure you put water in gradually, not all at once, because you never know how your consistency is gonna come out, and this is how mine did. It did take me a whole day to figure it out, let it dry. So come day 5, after I had already been upset about what I had done, I purchased my knobs and they had finally come in. These are the knobs that I'm going to be putting on the drawers. They are so beautiful and they look exactly like my inspiration. So with each one, I started to measure out the drawers to see how I'm going to put them in. I don't have one of those knob liners, so I'm just measuring the door, measuring the little knob piece, and just eyeballing it from here. just a quick recap of what our piece looked like before, the color changes, the knobs, everything like that, all the good stuff. And here a quick view of our inspiration, and finally our final result. I am so proud of this piece. I have no words to describe how beautiful she looks. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below what your thoughts are, what you would have done differently. And again, thanks for watching. See y'all on the next one.